Lenovo's Yoga 3 Pro is the thinnest laptop in the world, and it just arrived on our doorstep. We're going to do an unboxing and give you a quick tour. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, Dan Rubino here, Windows Central. Yes, we changed our name recently, so get used to it, but we are covering all things Microsoft and Windows these days, and that's going to start here with the Yoga 3 Pro, which just is starting to ship out to people. Ours just came from China over the weekend, and it was one of the first ones off of the production line, so hopefully it's in good shape. This laptop is going to be real fascinating. It's the third one, obviously, in the Yoga series, which is known for flipping all the way around and going to tablet mode and tent mode. But what makes this laptop really cool is not only is it the thinnest in the world, but it's one of the first to feature the Intel Core M70 processor, which is, I think, going to really change the landscape of PCs and tablets going forward. Mostly because it's so thin, it's light, and it uses very little power, about 4.5 watts, which to compare to current chipsets, you're looking at about 11.5 watts, all the way up to 14 and 15, depending on the type. Look at the great design here. I don't know if you can guys really see this. As let me zoom out just a tad there. It's kind of a neat feature. When you open it up like this, it sort of presents you the laptop in a nice nice presentation there. So this laptop comes in 3 colors. You have silver, clementine, and of course black. When I ordered it though, only the silver was available at the time, and now basically you can order all the rest of them, although they're being a little bit delayed. And the other cool thing there, of course, we'll take a closer look at is that new hinge, which they're calling the watch band hinge. It's got about 800 parts in it, which is pretty insane, but it's allowed them to make it so thin. Now I'm going to pull off the plastic here. Oh, that's a little loud. And there we go. And it is super light. It weighs 2.62 pounds, which is definitely on the light side for an Ultrabook. I've had quite a few Ultrabooks now. They're almost always over 3 pounds, 3.2 pounds. And that might seem like a small difference, and it really is, but at this weight level, you actually do feel that difference. You can also see how thin this is. It is a 1/2 inch thin, which is very remarkable. It's about the size of a pen. In fact, let's see, I got the original Surface Pro here, and this should be kind of funny. It's kind of hard to see. Yeah, it's about there. It's basically the same width as the original Surface Pro without a keyboard on it. So if you have one of those laying around, that puts into perspective. Mind you, that's a whole laptop with the keyboard and everything. Before I open up the laptop, let's take a look inside the box and see what we get here. It is a little heavy, the box itself. We get the new charger, and I'm actually really curious about the charger itself because obviously with the Core M it uses a lot less voltage, so you should have like a pretty small charger. And actually it does sort of look like almost like a cell phone charger. You just plug it directly into the wall, and then you get the plug itself. And indeed, this is very tiny. You don't get that big laptop brick with it, and which has been getting smaller over the years with the new Intel chipsets, but this is definitely the smallest. I mean, this is literally like, feels like something you'd use to charge your cell phone. Plugs in that way, and I guess, yep, and then you got your Lenovo special plug there. It looks like a USB, but it's their own proprietary one. If you've used Yogas in the past, you should be kind of familiar with it. It's kind of a neat design, not the barrel plug. It's also not magnetic, so, but overall a pretty solid design. That should be more sturdy than the barrel plugs anyway, but that's your charger. Definitely tiny stuff. So that's on this side. Let's see what we got over here. And it's just going to be the paperwork and licensing agreements. And apparently they're promoting Google Play for music, which I think I'll pass on. I'm actually a big either Amazon or Xbox Music fan myself. So I've got that packet there, and that looks to be pretty much it inside the box. That is it. So nice presentation though. And let's go back to the actual laptop here, and we'll take a closer look. Let me zoom in on that hinge, because this is sort of really what makes this this laptop truly unique here. And so you can see the hinge here. It's got, like I said, 800 moving parts. It feels like a metal mesh. It's sort of definitely interesting. The big question everybody has, and we'll have to test over the next couple of weeks, is basically how well it holds up, right? Because it's going to presumably take a lot of abuse. The cool thing about it, though, is since it's spread out all over the back here, it should be pretty strong as opposed to just having 1 or 2 or 3 contact points as a hinge. Is basically one giant one. So that's kind of interesting. Let's go around to the side here and we can take a look at the ports. Let me zoom back out there so you get a little bit bigger view. So you're going to have a couple USB ports on this, so let's see which ones are which. Looks like you have, I always forget which one's the USB 3.0 and 2.0. I believe this is the 3.0 and is the 2.0 that lets you charge while the laptop is in standby mode. You also have a micro HDMI and then a 4-in-1 card reader so you can do your SD cards and everything else. On the other side here you have your other USB, that's going to be another USB 3.0. Headphone jack, you have nice dedicated volume keys for controlling your volume, of course. And then it looks like you have some screen lock stuff, and I'm not really sure what that is, if that's a reset button, and then the power button on the side. Lenovo always has a little strange there, having their power buttons on the side, but kind of an interesting setup. Going around to the front, of course, it's very clean, and we've already seen the hinge on the back. Going to the bottom, you can see it's a very clean design. Let me zoom out again so you can sort of see the entire bottom. Now, what's really neat about this laptop is the fact, and it's kind of hard to see, these are speaker holes, by the way. These aren't vents. And that's because this laptop does not have vents. It has no fan in it. And so this is going to be the first time I've ever used a full laptop with no fan. And that's due to the Intel Core M processor, which evidently doesn't need it. I'm sure it's going to get a little warm, but it's not going to get hot enough that you have need a fan to cool it down. So with no fan and no moving parts, you're going to basically get a lot more battery life out of this. At least that's the idea. And of course, it's going to be much more quiet than any other laptop out there. So that should be kind of interesting. Overall, though, clean design. You can see the screws here. Typical sort of their special hex screws or whatever they use. I'm not really sure what those are called. But overall, very clean. You can see you got the foot here. And like I said, those are the speakers. And you get your window stickers over here, but overall great design. Going around to the top, and you got the Lenovo logo at the top, and that's it, just clean. I would have probably preferred the Clementine orange, just like I think most people will, but I couldn't really wait that long, so I'll just go with the silver. And let's take out the little keyboard protector and open her up, and you can see the keyboard right there, your traditional Lenovo keys. This hasn't really changed so far on the Yoga series. I'm not a huge fan of this part right here. This always gets me, and that is basically the usually you have a full backspace key here, and they merged it with the delete, so they kind of split it in half. I end up hitting backspace a lot, and I end up hitting delete by accident. So it's going to be, I'll be interested to see how, if that's changed in the way it feels. Got your nice trackpad over here. And overall, you know, great feel. You still have that nice rubber touch to it, so good quality. And then you can see that hinge rotates around, and now you go into the full, basically tablet mode. And I have to admit that the laptop being at 2.6 pounds now, and being this thin, it actually makes more sense to have that laptop mode. So I'm real interested to see, and when I'm using this on the couch or on an airplane, if I'll end up using that tablet mode. I've had the original Yoga, and it was a cool trick that it could do that, but I didn't find myself using it that often, mostly because the weight itself was sort of prohibitive from doing it. So let me see if I can power this on. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to set this up and turn on Windows and let that go, because we want to take a look at that display, which is a 13-inch QHD plus, and for you keeping track, it's a 3200 by 1800 resolution, which is ridiculously high. I almost think it's a little too high for a 13-inch. I mean, I'll take it, but I've used that resolution before, and that's kind of a lot at 13-inch. But we'll take a closer look, and I'm going to boot this up, and we'll come back and show you guys what it's all about. Okay, everybody, we're back, and we have the Lenovo all set up. This actually took a lot longer than I thought it would to initialize and set up, so it's getting a little dark here, so I'm going to kind of keep this brief. But Yeah, so it had 810 megabytes of updates to Windows to go through, which isn't that unusual, but it did take some time, a little bit longer than I thought it would. I was a little worried about the performance, but after the updates, which included some drivers for the display and Ethernet, things seem to have picked up a little bit. And you can see I just got a notification there. So overall, let me give you some quick ideas and thoughts. First of all, the fan thing, I'm going to retract that. So the idea that this doesn't have a fan is not completely true, and I don't know where the truth lies. Oh, sorry about hitting the camera there. But there is some sort of fan in this, and the reason I say that is when you're installing Windows and setting it up for the first time, you can definitely hear a whirring. Now, it's very quiet. It's definitely the quietest thing I've ever heard from a laptop in terms of fans, but there is definitely something pushing air in there. And I think you can feel some air movement coming around the hinge, so I think that's where it is. I'm not sure if it's a full-on fan in the traditional sense. Obviously, there's no intake vents on the bottom here, so that is true, but there's definitely something pushing some air around in there. I don't think it's a big deal, but you know, I have to correct that because that's obviously there's something in here that does move and is pushing air. It gets a little warm, but I mean, it's very mild. It's warm to the touch, but not hot. There's nothing that feels dangerous about this, even compared to like Windows phones a couple years ago got warmer than this thing does. So it's very, very cool. And that's after installing all the updates. And also quick clarification, so that is USB 2.0, and that is also the jack for the power, which shares a DC connection, which is you know, it's a really innovative use, I think, of the USB port there, so you don't have to take up an extra space for a power plug. So that's that in the USB 3.0. So let's talk quickly about the display. Before we cut earlier, I was mentioning that this is a 3200 by 1800 resolution at 13.3 inches. That's a QHD plus display, basically. Obviously, it's very high resolution, especially on a 13-inch laptop. I have that on a 15, and I find that pretty extreme at times. But overall, things look great. Big concern people have with Lenovo's in the past is regarding white balance. Often they complain of the screen being yellow tints. I can't say I see that. Honestly, the whites look really good so far, and I really have no complaints about the way it looks. Performance is okay. I don't think this is going to outperform a Core i5. I have to do benchmarks, obviously. It's definitely not going to compare to a Core i7. So there's definitely some trade-off here regarding the performance of the Core M. The Windows key here is really interesting. There's no haptic feedback there, so you can see. So switching between apps, it's a little weird. There's nothing, you don't feel it. It's just like touching a screen, and there's no, I wish it would vibrate a little bit. It would probably help the experience a little bit, but overall it's not too bad. Audio speakers were very impressive. This does have JBL on board, and it's loud, it's crisp, and it sounds fantastic. So they did a really good job there. In fact, they even have some branding here. You can almost see it a little bit, JBL audio logo right there, but it's very, I kind of like the branding they did on this. They kept it very minimal. You can see you have your traditional Intel stickers and the Ultrabook stuff, but you can probably peel those off. But other than that, it's a very clean design. And yeah, so there we go. I want to play with this over the next few days. The big thing also with Lenovo's, when you order from them, you're going to get a lot of these apps installed. They can easily be uninstalled, but just be aware of that. I prefer to buy all my stuff through Microsoft stores, both because of their support. If anything goes wrong, it's really easy to bring back and exchange with them. They also install a clean version of Windows, and you don't get McAfee on there, which no one really wants that. So if you can go through a Microsoft store, but for those outside the United States, obviously you probably will have to go through a Lenovo. And I'll take a look at some of these apps. Some of them look kind of interesting. For instance, there is a Lenovo VeriFace Pro, so it uses the 720p webcam that's on board here to unlock the device, so that could be kind of interesting. I'll play around with that a little bit and see what some of these other apps are. They have some neat Lenovo stuff on here for the different modes when you go into tablet mode or tent mode, and it basically configures the apps for that mode. So for instance, I'm in tablet mode right now. If I was using the Kindle reader, it would configure that to dim the brightness and make it easier to read. for say an airplane or something like that. So I'll take a look at that stuff, but overall it's an interesting device. The Core M, I think it underperforms a little bit, like I said, compared to the Core i5, but I'll have to do some benchmarks and get a real feel for it. But head to an Essential for more information, leave a comment, tell us what you think, and let us know if you're impressed or not with Lenovo's new offering, the Yoga 3 Pro. Take care, everybody.